Welcome, you can call me Red Cathedral. A few days ago, I got myself the new Sony A7IV, and today I'm going to guide you through the menu settings that I've chosen. So I'm going to just unpack it and get into the menu. So this is it, the new one, my own, and let's start. Normally I would set it in Dutch, but now let's quickly move through in English. Setting the date, of course, and the time. This we can do later. And let's see. Let's change a few settings. Let's see what's under the buttons. So, of course, a little faster. And something I always change is the drive mode that goes to continuous or DMF. This is okay for now. White balance we can change later. ISO auto is perfect on Sony's. Just make sure to do something that in the menu later on. And let's see the display options. That's the same. Into the menu. Okay. So no HIF at the moment because it isn't supported by most of the software. So let's stay on JPEGs. Movie settings, remember that well, you need a fast card if you want to go above the 8-bit 420. I've got the CF Express Type A card. That should be enough. Now, APS-C, that's something we'll touch later on. I've written an article about it. With 33 megapixels, you can use APS-C mode and get almost 15 megapixels, which is for online use more than enough. Now, recording settings, I prefer to have it sorted. I understand if you want it to be redundant, of course, but I prefer sorted. Auto switch means there's an overflow. And I'm going to do RAW plus JPEG. Why? Because the JPEGs I can deliver immediately and the RAWs I'll edit afterwards. Especially with all the fine-tuning we can do on JPEGs these days. We'll see that later on. Now, everything is visual these days. So for those who come from the A7 III, now it's the American way. Slot 1 is on top, slot number 2 is below. Slot number 1 is the one with SD and CF Express Type A cards. Here I'm going to change the things towards what I like, which means the series, otherwise it's going to be reset every time. I prefer to name all my cameras so that I get, well, I can immediately see which camera made what picture. Makes it a lot easier for me. So this one's an A7IV, so it's A7IV. And I prefer to have a date form folder name. Now, copyright info, let's do it quickly. I don't do IP-CTC at the moment because we have to insert a card with it. But I'm going to do the copyright because I always put copyrights in my pictures. It's immediately set into the EXIF files. So even if you deliver a JPEG immediately at your event organizer, for example, your name and everything is in the picture. So we'll do it very, very quickly. Of course, this has been speed up a little. Normally it would take a little longer. And most importantly, website. You can find more articles about, for example, loading settings, saving settings, using APS-C, and all those things you can find on this website. It's free, so go look at it. Use of adapters, for example. I tried all. www.redcathedral.art. Go visit. please. And that's how it will look in your exhibits. All right, back. All right, my serial numbers as well. It's good to have that just as security. These are just settings. Let's do all the settings. Let's quickly look at it. That's for streaming. That's HD. You can do 4K, but let's leave it at HD for the moment. That's enough. Drive mode, as I said, I prefer continuous. You can do one shot, then of course you can do the extras like beauty shots and everything. But for events, continuous autofocus is the best. I'm going to quickly set a longer, because if I forget to change this, then of course it will stop after 30 images. You can choose mechanical or electronic. Electronic has no movement at all, so it's safer for time lapses. Okay, silent mode, of course. Well, normally I leave it off. I've got it on a special button most of the time, so I can immediately activate it. Remember, this is like the A7IV, so pixel mapping won't happen if you leave the silent shutter on. Anti-flicker is same, needs to be on a button. That will be done later on. These are zoom is something I use mostly for video. Normally for pictures I don't use it, because as you see, you need to be out of RAW. You can only do it in JPEG. Why zoom? Well, I've got an article on it as well. Check it out on redcathedral.art. I prefer some grid lines, rule of thirds, so I know where everything is in my image. Live view means that you can actually see what you're changing in your camera. Of course, when you shoot in your studio with flashes, then put live view off. Now, this is important. ISO auto minimum shutter speed. Now, I always put faster, so it stays at minimum 1/60th of a second approximately. You can also go very, very fast. So this is if you use auto ISO, like I do a lot. You can set till what speeds the camera can descend or mount. Very important one. Exposure steps in 1/3 of a stop. Of course, metering, very important, spot metering. Now, if you leave it in center, it's always going to measure the center, but I prefer to have it measure the light on the spot that I'm focusing actually on. Way more important. So, and you can change it into highlights. That's something that stayed the same. If you're used to having an A7IV, for example, well, it's just the same. Highlights, standard, everything. Flash, we're gonna move over at the moment. White balance, yes, I do like shutter auto white balance lock. I prefer have it on shutter half press, which means that it will, at the moment you push the shutter half, it will lock your auto white balance, and it won't change during your during your shots. Now, creative tones and picture profiles, starting with the picture profiles. Well, soft skin effect, of course, can't only be in one shot, single shot. Picture profiles are for video mostly, but they do work for pictures as well. Let's scroll through them. Now, the most important one, the one that's updated, I prefer, is the 11, which is S-Cinetone. I think I'm going to use this one a lot. Now, creative looks, same thing, and you can see how much you can change on the side. Let's scroll through them first. Standard, neutral, portrait, vivid, black and whites. Let's see what you can all change. As you see, 8 parameters, and you can change each and every one from +9 to -9. Let's quickly go through them. So that can change your image a lot. This is what I was saying. For quick jobs, you can deliver JPEGs with a creative look on top of it. Next. I prefer having my zebras. Some people find it disturbing. I put them at as high as possible, so just under being clipped. They will display your highlights, so they will display wherever your the image is clipped, is too bright, and then you can like adjust for it. This seems all okay. Don't do pre-AF, please. It just exhausts your battery even faster. And on this camera, just like the A1 and the A7S3, it will be exhausted pretty quickly. Continuous autofocus and DMF. DMF means you got autofocus, but you can overrule it just by touching your focusing ring. Pretty handy. I don't like limiting. Just this means, well, you can choose whichever you don't use, you can just leave it out. I use them all. I prefer a red focus dot, so I can see where I'm focusing. I know it was gray in the A7 III, it was hardly visible sometimes, but this one, the red one and the white one, are pretty visible. If you can make them circulate, which means if you go off the screen on the left, you will start again on the right. And you can make bigger movements or just standard movements. Now, face and eye priority on and off. Of course, I'm going to put that on the button as well. You can now do humans, animals, and birds, all in photo and video. I'm going to put the selection, the choice for those in my FN, my function menu. There you go. And of course, if you say I don't use them, you can like limit it to 1 or 2. You can choose between the right eye and the left eye, or leave it on automatic. That's something that's going to be on a button as well for portraits. And I like having a frame around the eye, so I know it's on. You can also program that you can see where your focus point was when replaying your pictures. That's for manual focus. That really helps. Oh, peaking. Let's get the peaking color. There we go. Let's give it a little color so it's more visible. Because white is so white. Let's pick yellow. Now, playback. Of course, you can choose from which slot, which card you can you do the playback. I normally take the slot 1 because video and pictures are on those, so I can play back both. You can do ratings, of course, still, and everything. That's what we're gonna leave. Now you see photo capture. That's something we're gonna use on the button as well, which means you can like cut pictures out of video on the camera. That's pretty useful, especially with 4K video. You got 8 megabit images. Now this we're going to do later on, so you can get everything on your imaging edge. And those are for remote shooting. So which means if you got your images saved both on your card and on your phone, you can do 2 megapixel images. That's enough. It sends quicker. Okay, but of course all the transfer possibilities. And for pairing, you'll need to put your Bluetooth on. That's for later. Yes, let's keep it on 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. If you leave it on, it's gonna eat your batteries alive. But it's very useful for pairing it with your phone or your tablet. You can change the name. I'm leaving it like this at the moment. Here we're gonna do the important stuff. Custom keys, which means we're gonna program all the dials just the way I like it. You can do it differently. Please do it differently. Do it the way you feel it. I'm just gonna walk through and be silent and just show you what I use. So you just click it, and then you got the entire menu of things you can put under a button. Yes, I use the APS-C Super 35 a lot. Why? Because I like to work with primes, and it gives me an extra reach. So I can put on a 50mm and have a 50 and a 75 in one hand. Why not crop afterwards? Well, the files are smaller, and if I got something in my mind, I prefer making the picture the way I see it and not cropping it afterwards. Because afterwards I might have a different idea or not remember why I shot that image and say, oh my God, I got too much headspace or too much this, even though I was just focusing on the person. And I'm just gonna save myself a lot of work by using the APS-C mode at that point. And if I know it's for online use, well, APS-C 15 megapixels is enough. Just going through quickly. I like to have silent mode down there in photo. Now the button on top, movie shooting, has moved towards there. It has been switched to one button on the back. And I prefer having on the button on my lenses, I like having my tracking, which means if I push that button and my camera is focusing something, push the button, you got tracking on that person or that item. Of course, you can customize your roll buttons, scroll buttons. At the moment, we're not doing the control wheel. Maybe later on, once I get used to it. At the moment, I'm leaving it empty. As you used for with the A7IV as well, you can do everything as well for video. I'm gonna follow custom at the moment for most of it. Only a few things I might switch. That seems okay now. However, for the play mode, I prefer having it set my way. A column custom mode, that's useless, of course, in this point. So we're gonna change that. There we are. I'm gonna put photo capture on it. So now if I'm playing a video, I push that button and we can start picking pictures out of it. As I said, there's an article on redcathedral.art. Please read it if you don't know how to capture photos from your videos in camera. Really easy. Shot marks, that's to get markers in between your videos. We'll use that afterwards. Rating for pictures, very useful if you for Lightroom users. There we are for the markers. And that should be it. Of course, now I'm scrolling through with the buttons. If you're doing it without an HDMI connection, you can just touch the screen and it will go even faster. That's something on the back that I like. Recording with the shutter, so if you're on video mode and you push the shutter by accident instead of the record button, it will start recording as well. Function menu. Okay, quickly, just a few things that I like using, I use a lot. I will probably, the video menu, I will fill with later on because there's too much with the zebras and the peakings. Those things I will change afterwards. Now, if you put everything you use all the time under your buttons, everything you use a lot in your function menu, then you have to go hardly ever into your full menu. So people who tell me that, well, I can't find anything in the Sony menu, it just means they didn't configure their camera at the beginning. Because you got 3 options, you got the buttons for everything you need under your fingers, you got the function menu for everything you need very fast and a lot, and you got, that's something we'll see afterwards, the favorites menu, in which you can put everything else that you will need at some point. These are things that I use a lot. For photo, as you know, I'm a photographer first, so I'm installing my photography menu first, and for video I'll see afterwards. However, for video, the focus mapping is something you shouldn't underrate. As you see, focus mapping on the bottom, it shows within color what is in focus, what is behind the point of focus, what's in front of the point of focus, which makes it very easy to work if you're working on a gimbal, or working manually, or doing all your pulling and pushing all by yourself. Very handy as an option. It just looks weird. Okay. Well, I'll do video later. That's something important in my S&Q settings. That's something I need to address. Because S&Q isn't just going to 100 frames per second in Full HD or 60 frames per second in 4K. It's also descending onto 1 image per second or 15 images per second to get, well, this strange shaky feeling, or get a quick time-lapse feeling. For those who have had the camera in their hands, they'll see there's underneath the menu, underneath the big button on top, there's now another click where you can choose photo, video, or S&Q, speed and quick. That's new, and everything of course changes when you put in photo or you put in video. I'm not gonna lock too much at the moment. Yes, let's take both. Oh, I just noticed that I forgot to install the option where you can see where your focus point was. I'll have to do that afterwards, after this video is finished. Now, this is just for touch focus, where you can operate. Find the, yes, here. That's going to be important. Have better quality of image. I'm going to leave the frame rate normal. Otherwise, it's going to eat my battery even faster. Brightness of the monitor. Of course, you can use sunny weather, which means it's going to be a lot brighter. You can see more outside. Don't forget to change it when you're outside or inside. Okay. Here I should have changed it, and yes, that's auto review, which means, of course, if you put it on a few seconds, the picture you've made will stay in your viewfinder, and it will be as if you got this really weird lag. So put it up. This power save, pretty important to have it well balanced. And well, this tells you that if it gets warm, the camera gets warm, it will auto shut off. Audio signals we can put on and off later on the button. These are the things you can do with USB. Of course, please leave this on, then you can like power your camera from a power bank or your laptop or whatever. HDMI, we're going to leave at the moment at automatic. And if you, there you go. And if you leave the HDMI info on, then you get these images you're seeing now. Otherwise, you're just seeing, well, the image you're filming. Anti-dust. This means you can, if you activate this, your shutter will close whenever you shut down your camera, and you get no dust on your sensor. Very useful, very, very useful. However, it will slow down the startup time. So please know this and don't leave it on all the time. Save and load settings, great feature. As you have finished all your settings, then please save them either on an SD card or on this, like this. We're gonna save it on an SD card quickly, but you can also save it on your phone. You can save even more settings on your phone. So please use the app, the Imaging Edge app, once it's been updated. And then you can save them, and you can just transfer them from one A7IV to the other. So yeah, if you have several A7IVs or you're loaning one to someone or you're training someone, you can just load your settings to their camera. Very useful. Now you can choose PAL and NTSC. Remember, only the A7S III can use both PAL and NTSC on the same card. This is the third thing I said. For items you need a lot, you got a special menu, the My menu, favorites menu, and you can just add whatever you need. So you can choose between all those things and put them in your different menus. I'm sorting them a bit because I've been doing this a few times. I know what I want where, or what did I need a lot. For example, formatting a card, new folders. So why is a new folder handy? Well, whenever you got one topic, okay, for example, you're doing an event, you got one artist, okay, next artist, new folder, next artist, new folder. So that makes it a little more, it gives you a little more overview. Let's do this very quickly. Afterwards, I'll run through this in French and in Dutch, because those are my native languages. So you can just see. I'm doing this in fast forward. If you want to see it slowly, well, just pause it or something, or play it more slowly, whatever. But if I play this at normal speed, it would take even longer, and my voice doesn't like talking so long. Well, just a few things that I use. Where are they? Up. Of course, with the color tabs, it's already a lot easier to find stuff, but still, things you need a lot, stop looking for them, just put them in the My menu. You got a lot of tabs with a lot of space, so there's a lot that can go in. I'm not filling them 100%, but at the moment I'm just putting in what I need. Voila. I'm going to stop talking for a while. Listen to some music. Oh, there's no music, right. Yes, very important to put those off. Now we got audio signals and silent shutter together. Then you have no sound at all. Some people were complaining that they put on silent mode and they had still the sound on from focusing, that it still made the sound. So put everything off. That's better. Quick overview. Okay, tack. Then you got what I use. We'll do this in French and Dutch afterwards. I'll just change languages afterwards. There we are. Let's start with my native language. That's what it says in Dutch. If you don't understand it, that's okay. Most people don't. And then let's do the same in French. Up. Création d'un dossier. Love it when they abbreviate things really, really weirdly. And let's quickly look into some other little things. Here we are. These are the buttons in French. Just going through quickly, just you can just see what it says if you're not so used to seeing it in English. And that's empty. Let's do the up. And then we got the names written in orange, so you can see what it says. Going through quickly. As I said, video I will change afterwards. At the moment, the photo was more important for me. Let's do this last part in Dutch. Up. You just try saying scherpstelgebied, a very nice Dutch word. All I need to change after this presentation now is the fact that you can see where you had a focus when you're replaying your pictures. I forgot that. And with this, I'll end this presentation. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye.